my internship video. I'm going to get going because I know that we don't have a ton of time. So very quickly, today we're going to go through a little bit of an overview of my internship. I'm going to do a quick literature review. I'm going to talk about the results from my internship, and then I'll do a little bit of reflection at the end. So my internship was based in the Kawartha Pine Ridge District School Board, working under Tracy McCarthy, the Principal of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion for KPR in an online format, alongside 5 other students from our Bachelor of Education program. Over the past few years, KPR has implemented a board-wide, culturally relevant, and responsive pedagogy toolkit based on the Ontario Ministry of Education's Capacity Building Series document, which was released in 2013. The goal of the toolkit is to ease the load and stress around implementing CRRP in the classroom and give concrete, easily digestible lessons and professional growth opportunities to teachers and administrators alike, so that staff across the entirety of the board have a solid practical foundation in CRRP. The toolkit can be found in each school's library, but it can also be accessed digitally through a monthly email, and this is where my colleagues and I came in. The lesson ideas and professional growth opportunities in the toolkit are organized according to the 6 characteristics of impactful CRRP outlined in Ontario's Capacity Building Series. So these are social cultural awareness, high expectations, desire to make a difference, constructivist approach, deep knowledge of students, and culturally responsive teaching practice. These 6 sections were divided up between my colleagues and we were tasked with creating some sort of tech resource for each characteristic that could be accessed digitally by KPR staff. As it stands now, Ms. McCarthy found that the CRRP monthly emails, full of PDFs with different resources for each characteristic, were a little overwhelming for staff. So with one resource for each characteristic in the capacity building series, the information could be easier to sift through for teachers and administration and make CRRP more accessible for more people. My job was to cover the constructivist approach, and I chose to create an interactive Genially, which had all the information from the toolkit that was sent to me sorted into an inviting and digestible resource. With this in mind, my inquiry question became, how can I effectively communicate the benefits of a constructivist approach to CRRP to other teachers? Main interest in education is CRRP, so that's why I was drawn to this opportunity. But it's not necessarily the basics of it that interest me. It's the way our identities as teachers can influence how we implement CRRP in the classroom and can build barriers around our good intentions if we don't practice critical self-awareness and humility. Consequently, I wanted to add some reflection questions to my resource that could help teachers deepen the impact of the constructivist CRRP outlined in the toolkit. With my inquiry question in mind and this idea in mind, my learning goals became 1. Explain constructivist CRP methods in an online format. 2. Deliver relevant information for teachers to make concrete CRP connections. 3. Deliver authentic CRP methods in the right tone for teachers and administration. And 4. Encourage critical self-awareness and humility in teachers to deepen the impact of constructivist CRP. My success criteria became create a CRRP resource that is accessible, inviting, and informative. 2, identify the most practical applications of CRRP for teachers. And 3, create reflection questions for teachers that help them deepen the impact of their CRRP practice. Before I dive into the product of my internship, I want to talk about a couple of articles and books that guided the creation of my resource. Released in 2020, titled Challenges to Equity-Based Teacher Education Initiatives, Practicum Dilemmas of Teacher Candidates by Clausen and Black, which outlines the disconnect between learning CRRP methodology in education programs versus actually implementing it in practice. The main problem is that teachers who learn about CRRP without actively connecting it to their lived experiences, culture, and identity like their students would, never really understand how to use it. Teachers need an opportunity to co-create an understanding for themselves. This paper focused on teacher candidates, but many of the same struggles extend to teachers throughout their careers. So I wanted parts of my resource to encourage viewers to make connections between constructivist lesson ideas that I give and their own experiences to help them feel more confident in their CRP practice in the classroom. The next article I want to point out is this one from 2021 titled Is CRP Enough? Addressing Anti-Racism in Teacher Education by Curie et al. And it contains a couple of challenges teachers need to overcome to make truly impactful CRP content. And it all ties to anti-racism. In essence, well-meaning teachers can implement CRP as much as possible, but as it stands, it doesn't call on the school board, school administrators, and teachers to challenge the systemic barriers that contribute to everyday racism. It works within a racialized system and racist exclusions. It promotes diversity and celebrates differences. This is most of what we think of as CRRP, yet categorizes ethnic minorities into fixed identities, reproducing stereotypes. These ideas are an important part of my resource, and I wanted to add a section that addressed these issues through some reflection questions so viewers can think more critically about the information presented to them. Now let's quickly go through the resource I created. The initial title page, I wanted to make it look like it was a work in progress, so I went with a scrapbook design with pencils, paper clips, and crumpled paper everywhere. A little bit like you're looking at a messy desktop. I felt like that type of design would make CRRP feel a little less mandated and scary and a little more inviting. All of these pages are interactive, by the way, in the Genially. I just took screenshots for the purpose of this video. Table of contents outlining the 4 sections of the Constructivist Toolkit. Not much to say here. Introduction to the purpose of the toolkit and an outline of what people can find inside, as well as a link to that document I mentioned, Ontario's Capacity Building Series, which is what, again, each section of the toolkit is based on. Personally, an important page for me, this is where the previously mentioned articles come in, where I've added 4 tips educators can follow if they feel like their CRRP methods aren't hitting the way they want them to. And each one has a couple questions, reflection questions. So for example, the first tip has a couple questions that are about intersectionality and the different aspects of identity we favor. Examples of some of the reflection questions I'm giving teachers so they can think about CRRP a little deeper. These are the concrete lesson ideas given to start implementing CRP in the classroom with more impact. There's an article from 2018 by Sharma titled Shades of Gray in Between Assimilating, Interjecting, and Reinventing CRP, Exploring a Teacher Education Initiative. And in it, teachers give firsthand experience about their difficulty using CRP in the classroom. And one of the prevailing ideas is teachers in STEM have a hard time finding impactful connections. So I wanted to give lesson plans which focus on science and math integration, not all of it, but some of it. An example of a lesson connecting HIV treatment and education to the HIV disparity in BIPOC communities, which can be a really powerful lesson for grade 12s if you've created a safe environment to do subjects like this. So many discussions can pop up. The last page is for administration and gives 2 professional development opportunities to share with their staff based in, again, Ontario's Capacity Building Series. In the interest of time, I won't go through them, but you can pause if you want to take a look. Going back to my learning goals, it's been tough kind of sorting through what I hit and what I didn't hit. Based on the feedback I received from my supervisor, I succeeded in creating a resource that made CRP accessible, inviting, and digestible. So learning goal 1 was definitely hit. I really tried to whittle down the information to the most concrete and applicable examples possible so that it didn't seem like words with no purpose. So I also seemingly hit on learning goal 2. It's the last 2 learning goals that I need to focus on for next steps. A big part of the reason I took on this project is because I have a lot of things to say about CRRP, especially as a white educator whose primary focus is self-awareness and humility and sharing that passion. So for those last 2 learning goals, to see if I really succeeded in creating a resource that challenged viewers, I need way more feedback from teachers. As it stands, I just have my supervisor. The monthly CRP toolkit for KPR hasn't been compiled yet with my colleague and I's work, so I've yet to receive any feedback on that front from teachers just using it casually. But the hope is that viewers will read the information and not feel attacked, but encouraged. Or it doesn't sound like some all-knowing teacher candidate trying to get wax poetic about something that he has no business kind of talking about. I'll be following up with my supervisor when the toolkit is released to the KPR board, hopeful for feedback teachers might have, especially about the reflection questions I added, because I really wanted to hit the deeper parts of CRP that can make it feel more real for students, and see how teachers consolidated that information. In context with Kolb's framework, because I've yet to receive mass feedback from teachers using the toolkit, I haven't been able to physically practice any active experimentation and alter my resource according to the user feedback. So those are absolutely going to be my next steps. I'm going to cut it off here. Thanks for listening, guys. And yeah, I'll see you soon.